Hey everyone, it's Sifu Thommy. In this little series of films, I'd like to give you a little insight into my Wing Chun journey and also a little bit the journey of the history of the European Wing Chun, because I know a lot of you are interested in that. Personally, I began my Wing Chun journey in 1991 under a student of Grandmaster Kernspechts in Germany, which is where I'm originally from. And I only had the chance to train once a week back then, and that was something that I never really liked, so I looked for another school relatively early. I was lucky that from the very start of my Wing Chun journey, I had a training partner in my old friend Sifu David Martin. And so after finding a school in the city of Düsseldorf, where I was actually able to go there and take my bike there, because back then I was a high school kid, and I took my bike there, which was like a 1-hour journey, or sometimes I actually was able to take that bike on a bus in order to get there. There I was able to train for 4 hours a day. I think they offered training like 4 times a week for like 4 hours. So I did this for a while. And it turned into a situation where my parents were not happy with the grades that I brought back from school, and they were like, no, you either find a new school or you're going to have to stop Wing Chun entirely, which made me look for another school. And I found that under a student of Sifu Emin Botz-Tepes. Some of you guys may still be familiar with him. He used to be the American National Director for the EWTO, the European Wing Chun Association organization, or for the IWTA, which is Grandmaster Leung Ting's International Wing Chun Association. And he used to be the national director for the States back then, and he's from Germany as well. So I got to train with him in the subsequent years quite intensively. After this, I started training at Langensäll Castle. Some of you guys may have heard of the famous Wing Chun Castle, which is close to the city in Heidelberg, and the EWTO back in the days had their headquarters there. And I was lucky enough to make friends with some of the instructors there, and therefore had the chance to train there. And back in the day, they trained up to 8 hours every day, 7 days a week. It was a very, very intense period of 12 years where all the people did over there was just train Wing Chun and refine it and test it and then teach it. So I was lucky to be able to train there for about 6 years. In 1991 is when I began, and in 1995 is when I already became a full-timer. I was doing an apprenticeship at the time, and I met somebody who actually made his money doing Wing Chun, and that was like the thing that I wanted to do. And I remember vividly, it was the day when we had a Christmas celebration at our Wing Chun school, and my Sihing, my older Wing Chun brother, told me that he was looking for somebody to take over the group that I was training in myself, and that he wanted to ask me if this is something that was out of the question for me. And I was completely thrilled, and I wasn't able to sleep on that day. I was 18 years of age. I just got my driver's license. And you can imagine this was winter time in Germany, and we had like 3 feet of snow. And me just being brand new with my driver's license, wanting to get to that instructor, because like I said, I couldn't sleep during the night. And I just wanted to get to him and get all the information that I could possibly get in order to learn what was necessary to do Wing Chun full-time as a job. So I tried to call him the whole day, wasn't able to get hold of him. So I just asked my father, I said, hey, I have to get to the city of Lindlar, which was like 35 kilometers away from where I lived, and I asked him where that was. And he told me the approximate direction. It was before the time of cell phones, before the time of GPSs. So it was kind of interesting for me to go there as a young kid, you know, in 3 feet of snow. And for these 30 miles or so, it took me 1.5 hours to actually get there. And then I knocked on his door, I rang the doorbell, and he opened the door, and he's like, what the heck are you doing here? Because I wasn't able to get him right before that, to reach him before that. And I said, the thing that you do, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. What do I have to do in order to make this happen? And then he said, well, you're officially crazy. Come inside. Here's a hot cocoa. Let's just sit down and I explain something to you. And this is pretty much what started my Wing Chun journey. I just sat down and I just took notes and notes and notes and notes. And the very next day, I quit my job at the apprenticeship and I started teaching Wing Chun full-time. Took over that class, wasn't able to financially support myself in the beginning. I was lucky that I was able to stay at my parents' place or to live at my parents' place at that day, and I started working as a bouncer, as a salesman. I was a bartender. There's a lot of things that I did in order to support my Wing Chun journey, and it got to a point where I was finally able to make enough money so that I was able to just purely do Wing Chun. That was around 1995. So in 1995, I became a full-time instructor, and I was lucky enough to meet the people at Langenthal Castle. So some of the instructors, that's another question that I get quite often, is who were your instructors? Pretty much the first generation of teachers that I trained with all came under Grandmaster Lin Ting. Grandmaster Kernspecht, Keith Kernspecht is my Sifu, my father teacher. And then I had a number of Sihings, starting with Sifu Emin Botstepe, Sifu Hans-Peter Edel, Sifu Thomas Schrön, and Sifu Heinrich Pfaff. And with some of them I still associate and have strong friendships, and we still train with each other.